Hello, everyone. Welcome to our August 2021 State TA Day webinar. Our first, well, actually, can someone confirm that you can see Josh's screen, hear my voice, see Karen, Melissa, Josh, and myself before we get started and start recording? No answers yet. Okay, yes. Thanks so much, Karen. All right, Josh, we will start with you. Josh is going to give us the update on Colorado Shine's rating. Oh, you're muted, Josh. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, and we can see you. Great, thanks.
Cool. And then you can see the updates in the Colorado Shine's rating, the slides?
Yep.
Okay, all right, great. So hi, thanks everyone for your patience. Josh Franklin, Data Manager at Clayton Early Learning. So I'll give a couple updates in the Colorado Shine's rating, and then I can take some questions. So let's see. Okay, great. So current status, virtual ratings are winding down. Our staff are getting reliable on the ERS 3 scales, which impacted our fall schedule for virtual rating. And let's see, in-person observations using the ERS 3 scales and soon to be released refreshed framework will resume in January 2022. Okay, and I've been told that the refreshed framework should be out the first week of September. So that is exciting. Okay, so in collaboration with the Department of Health, developed health protocols, continue to monitor health guidelines and everything in collaboration with all the stakeholders. And we'll continue to kind of update things as needed, right? We definitely, unfortunately, still have a fluid situation that we didn't think we'd be at right now. So, okay, so all observers are fully vaccinated. I'm sure we'll get boosters here pretty soon, or the assessors will probably get boosters here pretty soon. I don't know about the timeline on that. Yes, follow all federal, state, and county health protocols and mandates. Definitely be looking at the COVID dial dashboards for recent outbreaks. We'll ask programs about the health protocols, and observers will follow those as well. So if there's any extra special, but all observers are going to be masked. Let's see, observers will do health screenings prior to the observation. They will not visit any programs if they show any signs of illness. They will reschedule if there are any potential or active COVID outbreaks or cases in the program. Right, like I said, they'll wear a mask, face covering the entire observation, but they will, not stay within. They'll get inside 6 feet to hear your language. Okay, sorry. All right, and then washing hands frequently as they enter and exit the classroom. Okay, so the programs in the queue. So all programs who have submitted an application have been, I've reached out to them, sent an email with a Google form for them to complete with information about their program and just some other information about, kind of needing to rate by June 2022. And I'll get into a little bit more of that in a sec. But all programs rating this fall, a virtual rating, have been contacted and notified. So there's just a few programs doing a virtual rating for the fall. Scheduling, right? So I contacted 141 programs statewide, who are in the queue who have submitted an application, right? And programs, right? I was told them, right, they need to rate by June 2022. So really, that's like 9 months notice. And then if that can't happen, then we're gonna request that the programs reach out with their councils and the Office of Early Childhood to request a formal extension. So that would be on their expiration date. So I've only actually received responses from 71 programs. So right, and I'm trying to get those programs scheduled in with their first choice of when they would rate. Starting in January, right? December, January rating month. Programs who have not responded, I'm going to start kind of scheduling them in based on their submission date. So like the latest submission dates are going to kind of get slid in, and then that's hopefully that's good. or if not, it'll start a dialogue of, you know, next steps with that program and scheduling better times. So yeah, so the January 2022, I'm going to build that schedule in September and have that finalized by the middle of September, and I'll notify all those January programs then. And like I said, you know, it might be a little sticky, right? Because we do want to get level 2s in there rated. We want to, you know, kind of considering a lot of different things. But just, you know, I asked for some patience, right? We're trying to figure this out, trying to put this puzzle back together. So yeah, we're, you know, definitely understanding for programs, and, you know, hope that understanding can reciprocate our way. Right, this is probably not going to make everyone happy, and I apologize for that. But that's kind of our state right now. So, so virtual ERS trainings, right? This is all on our Clayton website. The refresh framework, like I said, is coming out soon. Yeah, there's a lot of resources on our website. I know Monica is going to share this presentation at the end, but I think that's some more resources, coach training and certification, right? All this information is on our website. So, yeah, I think that's it. Are there any questions?
If you have questions for Josh, go ahead and type them in the question box. I do know that we've had several councils speak to programs, and the programs are kind of a little bit up in arms and surprised about this. So, you know, reach out to us. Like, unfortunately, like Josh said, there's not really anything we can do at this point because the schedule is full. But maybe if they need more time to feel comfortable with those ERS3 tools, or if they have staff turnover, remember that there's a possible extension. So reach out to your QRIS coordinator and we can talk about it. We do have one question or comment. It says, we were told that the point guide will be available in September, but the evidence guide will not be released until October 2021. Is this correct? And if a program rates December/January, they will not have 3 months to prepare.
You want me to take that?
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you.
So yeah, so we will have the actually our communications group has the indicators right now, and we'll get those out to councils probably next week, and then out to the community the following week. The evidence guides will not be ready until at least the end of September, and that's just because we're working with our coaching team to make sure that they're, you know, well put together so that it's a really good guide for folks who are preparing to, you know, enter their rating starting in January. Yes, the window for January programs does open in December, but they have December and January. And frankly, there's a whole lot less information that they're going to have to upload. A lot of the evidence will be used via staff questions, family questions, and observation, and there'll be less documents to upload. Probably, gosh, I should probably do the math, but I would say close to half of what we were doing before. So that will be helpful, I think. But I do understand the concern with that, and we're just working as fast as we can to get those supporting documents ready.
Thanks so much, Karen. We do have another question. What are the current recommendations for quality improvement coaches visits on site?
Yeah. So the current recommendations is to follow your health guidelines. So if your county health guidelines, and if, you know, the county is not recommending, you know, visits to early childhood programs, then I would recommend, you know, reaching out to them virtually. But just, you know, reach out to your county person and make sure that you know what's happening within your county, because every single county is doing something different at the moment. So.
We do have a comment. It says many people struggle with change. As long as we have the evidence guides and things we need, so needs for our coaches can support, everything will be okay. And that's true. I mean, it is, you know, it will be a change, but we'll all work together to make it hopefully seamless and a good transition.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Stacy. I mean, we are fully aware that this is a change. I think you guys will see that, you know, it's probably only about 20% different than it was with the initial framework. There's a little, you know, things might be worded a little bit differently, but some of the intent is still, you know, there. And so we intend to start doing information sessions in October. So we'll have quite a few of those. We're going to work with the Clayton team and our QRS team to get those scheduled, and we'll answer questions for coaches, providers. You know, we'll probably do a coach only couple of sessions too, just so that you guys can, you know, ask us questions. And, you know, we'll be working on this together, frankly. So, but yeah, thanks for mentioning that.
All right, it looks like those are all of our questions. Thank you so much, Josh. We did receive quite a few questions about the employer support grants. So we invited Angela Benzekri from the PDG team to give us an update on that. Hello, Angela.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. So I don't have any slides today. Today's going to be a little bit of just an informal update since we're still in process with a few things related to the employer-based childcare grants. But just did want to tee up the subject for you so that you knew that we're kicking off our employer-based childcare design lab with executives partnering executives partnering to invest in children. I always almost get Epic's name mixed up a little bit with another organization I used to work with. But Nicole Reel did give an update today at the ECLC meeting. So for those that maybe weren't there, they are our vendor contract partner to create the design lab. And their job will be to work with several employers that are interested in applying for the employer-based childcare grants. It's not required that a grantee work with Epic on this process, but it is encouraged so that they have an opportunity to go through kind of an internal needs assessment and think about how they would design their childcare space for their employees. And so for those that may not be familiar with the employer-based childcare grant, this was a part of Senate Bill 236 that was passed earlier this fall. I've already transitioned into fall earlier this spring, and it gives about $8 million to provide non-childcare employers with grants to create a site, a childcare site for their employees. So that's supposed to be their main audience for those childcare slots, and that will be one of the scoring criteria as part of that grant. And so I'm going to drop in the chat the initial interest application that we're requesting that employers fill out. And then we will email them directly the full application information. Right now we're finalizing a few things with our finance and contracting team. We've hit a few snags with just the nature of capital grants with the state is a little more complex than OEC usually engages in. Luckily, we've been working with Melissa and learning a little bit more from the emerging and expanding grant process and adopting some of those principles within this grant. And just to give you a sense of the volume, so the E&E grants have been maxed out from $3,000 to $50,000 and will soon go up to $200,000. For the employer-based childcare grant, the ceiling for those will be $800,000, so a much greater grant amount. And then the grantees will also have a match component attached to it. And so in the bill, it outlined that for-profit organizations or businesses will have to have a 50% match, and then nonprofit or government entities will have a 25% match grant match requirement. And so it could be a city or county office, it could be a hospital, a university campus. There's any type of employer would be eligible to apply for this, and it could be a group of employers that also apply together. So say there's folks in a mixed use space, or folks that are located really close together, within a few blocks of each other, that would be an eligible grouping. And the childcare space would either have to be on site with one of those employers, or again, within a few blocks of that location so that it could target the employees that work at that location. So just know there's going to be a little bit of flexibility on where those childcare spaces could be located, that it doesn't absolutely have to be on the actual premises of the employer, but it does have to be within a reasonable distance. And then a couple of the other components of the grant as outlined in legislation is that we'll be working with childcare licensing to figure out what the waiver process might look like if the site has has some location barriers in terms of maybe offering infant toddler care on grade level, or if they don't have access to outside space, what are some innovative approaches that we could use, if there's a near side public park or things like that, that we'll be working with childcare licensing to apply the applicable waivers to those locations. So there's going to be, again, some flexibility, and that's why we're hoping a lot of folks might go through that employer-based childcare design lab with EPIC so that they can get more information on how to access those waivers. And then at the end of the design lab process, we're hoping to create kind of a series of case studies or approaches that each of these businesses took to design their sites so that we can use that information in the future. So maybe the grant funds go away, but we'll have these models so that employers in the future can possibly embark upon this process and do a needs assessment and learn a little bit about how to build a childcare site on their location. So we've got a lot of short-term and long-term plans associated with this grant process. And so again, feel free to take a look at that initial grant application. And you can reach out to me or to Nicole Reel if you have some employers that might be interested in the design lab. We have not selected the group yet. They actually will be launching their application process and going through and doing informational meetings over the next month or so. So it looks like we're going to be able to have that initial group of employers as part of that process announced probably around the end of September or early October, depending on what the interest looks like. So again, reach out to me if you have additional questions from this, basic overview of what we're working on. And let's see if I have any questions in the chat before I hand it back to Melissa. Let's see. If an employer submitted an interest form that was on the OEC website, will they be contacted by EPIC? So those folks will actually be contacted by OEC if they've submitted the grant application form already, that initial application. They'll receive the full application criteria directly from OEC. But that's a good idea. We can also reach out to them and let them know that the design lab process is going on and if they're interested in participating in that cohort. So we will network all of the folks that have already filled out that form and let them know that EPIC is going to be launching this opportunity very soon. So Angie, I hope that answers your question, and feel free to add any more follow-ups to that in the chat if necessary. And it looks like everything else before that is about ratings. So again, let me know if you have additional questions. And then in terms of deadline to apply, Tina, we actually are going to have rolling deadlines pending available funds. So we're planning to have this first deadline happen here in September, and then we'll have additional deadlines throughout the calendar year, or excuse me, throughout the state fiscal year. And we'll have all of that published very soon. Like I said, the contracting process is taking a little bit more time than we expected with considerations around the capital funding. But we will publish all of the deadlines that we expect to have during the year, pending available funds, as soon as possible. And then on the design lab, again, Nicole Reel is going to be the main contact for that, but you can also contact me and I will get you in touch with Nicole if you don't have her contact information directly. So feel free to reach out to myself or Kristen Lang at OEC to get that information. And then, can a school district apply to have their infant toddler care on site for their teachers? Yes, so any type of employer, if they've got staff in one site or multiple sites, they would be absolutely eligible. So I know a couple of college campuses have been very interested. I know of a hospital that's been interested, so a school district would also be an eligible entity, and they would just have to show, how they would be serving their teachers, or, in this case, teachers as employees, and what they would do to renovate maybe an existing classroom on site, or if they would be doing an addition to a building, or what that would look like. Certainly, they would be an eligible applicant. And then I don't see any other things popping up in the chat. But again, I'll drop my email in the chat. I'll drop Nicole's email in the chat. And then I'll put that application link back in the chat again. And that way you have all the information in one place. And again, we will return here next month with all of the application information as it pertains to employers. So that way you have all of the up-to-date information as we're able to develop it. Thanks again for having me today, and I'll pass it back to Monica.
Thanks so much, Angela, and I'll send out the follow-up email with everything that was put in the chat for anyone that missed it. Next up, we have Sybil Holmes with an update on the Family Childcare Home Pre-Licensing Training. Hello, Sybil.
Hi, thanks for having me today at the last minute. I've probably spoken to a lot of you before. I don't have a presentation today, it's just my face because I was last minute. I wanted to give people an update on where we are at in the process. I am working on the Family Childcare Home Provider Pre-Licensing Training, the big 15-hour training that everybody who would like to care for children in their home needs to take. It's been definitely a labor, and I've learned a lot from talking to the community. We've reached out and worked with early childhood councils, providers, lots of specialists, and the curriculum came together. It looks pretty lovely right now, but we don't really know how effective it's going to be until it's tested out in front of a live studio audience. So right now I've got some people across the state who have volunteered to pilot. So right now, at least one person has been using this curriculum with people who are interested in becoming providers, and I'm getting daily feedback on things that need to be improved or things that might be better. So I just wanted to fill everyone in on that's where we are at in that process. But one thing that we've learned about these family childcare home providers is being connected to their local community is one of the most important things that they can do to be successful. So I just wanted to put it out there. If you and your early childhood council or your organization have people within your community who are interested in delivering this training, then I'd love to connect with you and get you on the track to where we can get this training into as many hands as possible locally. So I'm going to drop my email into the chat, and you can just contact me directly. I'd love to connect, and hello to everyone I'm already connected to. So back to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Sybil, and just say thank you for all of your hard work on this, Sybil, is the comment we have from your presentation. So thanks so much, Rachel. And then moving on, we have Jennifer McDonald with a PDIS update. Hello, Jennifer. I cannot hear you, you're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, and I do have slides to share real quick. Perfect.
I just sent you the screen. And we can see your beautiful cabin.
Okay, that's not, I mean, it's a nice cabin. That's not what I want you to look at. So hold on just 1 second. Get to the right place. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, hold on just a second. Okay, so today I want to talk about the PDIS. And I want to start by expressing gratitude for everybody's patience, continued patience. We know that there's been some challenges with the system. We know there's been some frustration. We've had some successes as well, but I just want to start with saying thank you so much for everybody's understanding and patience as we learn the new system. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, but we're hoping over the next couple weeks things will start to kind of mellow out a little bit as folks get used to the new system. So with that, I want to share a couple of things to celebrate. So we do know that there have been some frustrations with the system, but we've also had a lot of people being able to get in and use it. So since go live on the 14th of June, we've had over 50,000 course completions, which you can see on your screen here on the right-hand side. So just to put that in perspective, I think I've said this before, but when I started in this role about 5 years ago, we had about 4,000 course completions every month. So the fact that we've gone from 4,000 completions a month to over 50,000 in just about 2 months is kind of amazing. That represents about 80,000 hours of coursework. And of course, we know that people are getting into the system this time of year. It's the beginning of the school year and taking a lot of their annual required training. We know there's a lot of hiring happening. So folks are getting in for that. But that number, about 25% of those course completions are not required training. So there are other ongoing professional development that people are accessing in the system, which is also very exciting to see. We've also had over 150 approved Credential 3.0 applications, over 125 approved director qualifications. And on average, in August, I think the last 2 weeks have been especially exciting on our PDIS roller coaster. We've had anywhere between 21 and 2,300 active users every day, and that's a 75% increase just over 2 weeks ago. So that's been exciting. But with that increase in users, we've also had an increase in help desk cases, as you can imagine, as people have started to access the system. So, which has impacted some other things in the system, as you may know. So, a couple things. If you're hearing people saying still that they can't log in, we know that there are some continued Salesforce things that we're working on. But if folks can't log in, please have them contact the help desk. We have hired 2 additional staff, and one of the main things that they're looking at is actually just helping people log into the system. Please recommend that people don't go into the system and create a new account, because they won't see any of their past training completions or any of their previous user information if they do that. So they should be logging in with an existing account so they can see all their history in the system. One of the things that has been fixed over the last couple of weeks is users not seeing all of their ongoing professional development hours or all of their level 2 hours. At this point, we think that all the missing course completions that were identified shortly after go live have been uploaded to the new system, and level 2 hours and ongoing professional development hours should be appearing correctly on users' dashboards. That said, we do know that repeated course completions, if you took the same course in the system multiple times, so for example, Introduction to Social Emotional Health and Development is one that people sometimes have taken a couple times. Repeat completions aren't showing up right now, so if there is a difference there, that might be why, and that would be another reason to contact the help desk. Another thing just to keep in mind is that at this time, our contract with the legacy PDIS comes to an end on August 31st. That is Tuesday. That date has come up faster than, I just can't believe how fast the last couple of weeks have gone. We are in contract negotiations right now with the vendor to hopefully extend past that date, but nothing is final yet. And if anyone's worked with the state contracting system, know that things don't always go as planned. So at this time, the communication is that August 31st is the deadline for folks to log into the legacy PDIS system and gather any documents that they might have there that they're not seeing in the new system. And also, Monica, can you let me know if there's questions? Because I oftentimes have a hard time reading and talking at the same time.
Of course, no questions yet.
Okay, thank you. Another thing that you might be hearing from folks is that they might have submitted external training and it hasn't been reviewed yet. We have a big queue of folks who've submitted external training. The good news about that is that process is working. Folks are getting in there and submitting training, but it's the same group of people who are answering help desk cases and reviewing credentials and reviewing external training. So as you can imagine, with the increase in users over the last couple of weeks, with the increase in help desk cases, it also impacts our other systems. So a couple things, we're all going to get cross-trained over the next couple of days so we can decrease the size of that queue for external training. We're also anticipating help desk cases to go down over the next couple weeks. So with those two things combined, we're hoping that those external trainings will get reviewed and we'll get caught up there. Another thing that we're seeing is folks going into the system and logging in and looking for their annual training requirements. And they can get to their completed transcript and see their trainings that they've taken previous years. They open those trainings from their transcript, take the content again, access the content, but don't see a new certificate or a new completion date. And one of the things we've learned over the last couple of weeks is when a user does that, when they find a course through their transcript, it's not actually re-registering them for a new instance of the course itself. So we've put reminders in many, many places, but if you could get the word out, if folks aren't seeing the right completion date, that it's important when you go in to retake a course that you re-request the course and re-register for it. You should get a pop-up that says, hey, you took this course before, do you really want to take it again? And that's what they need to see, so they'll get a new completion. If, however, any users completed all the course content and aren't getting that course completion, we have a way to fix that on the back end, so they just need to contact the help desk. We'll get that taken care of. So nobody should be spending time retaking courses multiple times because of this issue. So just have them contact the help desk. And I want to pause here.
Oh, we do have a question.
Perfect.
You might not know the answer, but what do you anticipate the length of return for a help desk request? If we submit a help desk request and don't receive a request within a few days, what is the next step we need to take?
That is a wonderful question, Jessica. And the first thing I want to do is send out a lot of appreciation and gratitude for our help desk staff. They have really been doing an amazing job working with many, many issues we've had with the rollout, learning the new system. And so we acknowledge and appreciate that the help desk responses aren't as fast as even the help desk staff would like right now. So please, when you do get them on the phone, just show them a lot of kindness, because they've been dealing with a lot over the last couple of weeks. But to answer your question, Jessica, I would say if you haven't heard back within a week, there is a training email that you can copy, which I can put on, let's see, I'm trying to think of the best way for me to communicate the training email. But really, I think probably the best way is to wait for the help desk response, because there's a lot of things that really only the help desk can help with, unfortunately. I really do anticipate the response times to greatly increase over this next week and a half, now that folks are back in school. So it goes back to my original, I thank you for your patience. And I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you right now. So sorry. Hey, Jen, real quick.
Yeah.
This is Karen. Hey, I just wanted to ask regarding the help desk and PDIS.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a program who is in the rating, definitely the best thing that they can do is put that into the subject line. Send an email to the help desk with the subject line being, in my rating window and their license number. We're gonna try to expedite those types of help desk calls so we can get them up to the front of the queue. And definitely the license number is just going to make it a lot faster for us to get back to that person. So if you could help us reiterate those two things, that would be really, really helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Karen.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I?
Nope, not for now.
Okay. Couple little reminders where folks can find some helpful information. First, I want to point out on the login screen, the forget password link is the right place to get started when logging in. Starting here and then entering your email is the way to get started, not by creating a new account. So that's the first thing I want to point out. The other thing is under the helpful links part here, right under the picture, are some helpful links to how-to guides and videos and some more detailed information that will walk users through step-by-step the system. Also in the navigation, which you can access by the hamburger menu up in the top right-hand corner, that Navigating the Colorado Shines PDIS, again, that has a list of all of our how-to guides and our videos to show, for example, how to find your transcript, how to run a transcript report, how to log in, all of that kind of stuff. Also, under the For Directors link is where you'll find information on links for the webinars that we're hosting 3 times a week for leaders. One of them's in the evening, and then 2 are in the kind of lunch, middle of the day time period. Those are being hosted by Christine Bauer, and that gives a great overview of the system and allows people to ask really one-on-one questions on how to use the system. We found those sessions to be very well attended. We're getting anywhere between 15 to 25 attendees every session. So the feedback on those has been great. The other thing is the regional coaching team should be reaching out to councils if they haven't done so already. Be expecting a call over the next couple weeks to offer how they can provide additional one-on-one support to you guys as you support providers in using the system. So thank you for your patience too. That is something I wish we had all been able to do before go live. I apologize that we weren't able to do that before we got started, but over the next couple of weeks or so, you should be getting a call. The other thing I want to point out, these are the dates of the sessions I just mentioned, hosted by Christine. And again, that's that virtual instructor-led training that anybody can access, and the links are right on the website. So what else is coming? One of the great things about our new system is that it's been developed in Salesforce, and we have the ability through continued ongoing maintenance and support to implement enhancements on an ongoing basis. So one of the things that's coming hopefully next month is more detail for users about their credential components and their points. That'll be broken out and visible on users' dashboards. That was one of the first things we heard when the system went live, and we're hoping to be able to implement that change here shortly over the next couple weeks. Also, licensing specialists getting logged in correctly so that they can view users' transcripts and be looking at providers' training records right from within the system is another great thing. We're hoping to be rolling out training for our licensing specialists over the next couple of weeks. Also, as I mentioned, faster review times for external trainings and credentials as well. And we're also implementing continued enhancements on a monthly basis. So as we hear feedback through this meeting, through surveys, through Christine's one-on-one sessions, we're meeting on a weekly basis to prioritize enhancements. And we really are using that feedback to improve the system as we go. So this project is the definition of a continuous quality improvement, we'll put it that way. While all of that's going on, we also have additional training updates. There's a lot happening on the training team. One of the things that we're excited about that published just last month was the Medication Administration Part 1 course is now available in Spanish. That's never been available in our state before. So that's we're very excited about that one. Also, we've updated and refreshed the Safe Sleep course that's taken every year by folks, and that's available in English and Spanish as well. And that course is getting some really great reviews. We are also working on, and I'm excited about this one too, a Colorado-specific disaster response course. So this is often referred to as the FEMA course that I've heard issues with, I see for as many years, I think, as I've been here. So we are working on that now, and hopefully that will be available in the PDIS, developed by us and available in English and Spanish, hopefully by the end of the year for both of those. We also have more courses coming in Spanish, Introduction to CACFP, Physical Activity. We're working on injury prevention and playground safety for homes in English and Spanish. So, and both of those courses being available are injury prevention and playground safety for centers in Spanish by the end of the year. So lots happening in the training arena. And I also want to put in a little plug related to the ERS3 courses that we actually published right at the beginning of COVID. But those are up and available for folks as well. So we have ITERS, ECHRS, and FICRS courses all on the ERS3 available for folks too. And I think that's it. for me.
Thanks, Jen. We do
Are there
have
any
some
other?
questions.
Yeah.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, so can you verify what qualifications are required for trainers, or did that concept get abandoned?
What qualifications are required for trainers? There's lots of, for the training credential?
Lisa, did you want to expand on that? I can unmute you if that helps.
I have lost my questions box. I don't know, it went somewhere.
Let's see.
If you reach out to me directly, there's a couple things. If you reach out to me directly, I'd be happy to provide some additional support. Also, on the PDIS, under Become an Approved Training Vendor, you'll see our training. We have a training email. And so if you reach out and send an email, I can provide a detailed explanation, because we have trainers, for example, for standard precautions, safe sleep, abusive head trauma, in addition to the training credential. So I just want to make sure we give you the, and other courses as well. So I just want to make sure I give you the right answer.
Okay, so Monica did unmute me. So my question is, back when credential level 2, I guess, was launched with PDIS, the requirement was futuristic but expected that if you were going to submit a certificate to be accepted towards your credential, that the trainer had to be recognized in PDIS and go through that process. My question is whether or not that idea is still existing, whether it exists now and I'm just not aware of it. What is the stance on it? Because I keep hearing this question from people who are a little periphery but have heard of this before.
Mm-hmm. That's such a great question, and I'm really glad you asked that, because I've gotten this question on and off the last couple of years. So that was the original, I think the original vision of what the trainer credential, the way that was supposed to work, right? Like, in order to count towards the credential, any training delivered had to be delivered by a credentialed trainer. That idea never actually went into practice. So, and there were many reasons for that. One of them being, folks coming from out of state, right, who don't have the ability to have training delivered by a Colorado credentialed trainer, or other trainings delivered by qualified training organizations. We didn't want to be policing all of those trainings. So the answer to your question is no, that's not a requirement, that all training needs to be delivered by a credentialed trainer. And it actually hasn't ever been the requirement, even though it was kind of the original vision of what it might look like.
Thank you, because I've had individuals say they couldn't give a training certificate because they weren't going to meet that. And I thought what you just said was the truth. So thank you for clarifying.
Yes, that is absolutely the truth. Yep. Now, that said, we do recommend that folks get the trainer credential. The other thing I will say, what we're hoping to do, instead of using what I'm calling like the carrot versus the stick approach, right? Not like the stick, like you have to be a trainer. We're hoping to provide more resources for credentialed trainers. So free and available curriculums in the system. So once you get your trainer credential, there'll be some kind of library that trainers can access to use and support trainings for staff. So that's kind of something we're hoping to be working on, I would say, over the next couple months and rolling out as time allows.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Here's another one. Is there a reason federal programs such as CDA and apprenticeship do not give points like EQIT and Pyramid? Apprenticeship does not expire and CDA lasts for 3 and is renewable.
That's a good question, and I'll be honest that I'm not, I don't have a good answer. So does anybody else on the call? Angela, do you have any background on that with the CDA? Sorry to put you on the spot if you're still on the call.
Angela is no longer on the call.
Okay, I think
So,
let's take that one back to the team
mhm,
and see what
yeah.
we can find out. Sorry about that, Julia.
Okay,
Anything else?
next question. Yes, there are more. Who's the best person? Oh, you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Who's the best person to submit some feedback to regarding concerns with ECPC 3.0 level 2? We're specifically concerned about the reduction in requirements to become ECT qualified.
I would say really that concern can come to either me, Jennifer O'Brien, or Lisa Matter. And if you don't have emails for those folks directly, you can send it to the help desk and they will route it our way.
Thanks,
We're
Jen.
having ongoing conversations about that.
And just a comment, thank you, Jen. We appreciate you and the team working so hard to make this much easier and smoother for providers. And our next question is, so does that mean that providers can go back to watching Dr. Phil videos to get their 15 hours of continued education hours?
So good question. My answer would be no. That training wouldn't count necessarily as a training because they wouldn't have a completion certificate, right? So the requirement that that a user, a provider, receive training by a qualified trainer is still, that requirement is still there. Now, what I mean by qualified is not necessarily that they have a trainer credential, but that they haven't, to your point, but participated in YouTube videos and not experienced any opportunities for retrieval practice or any reflection or anything like that. So to answer your question, no, we do still require certificates. The certificates still need to be linked to a competency domain. So those licensing requirements for what counts as qualified training are still in effect. It's just not the approved trainer credential.
Show? I'm just
Sorry,
kidding.
Monica, what did you say?
I said, what if they're on
Dr.
the
Phil?
show? I'm just kidding.
It's a really good question. We might, if anyone gets on the Dr. Phil show, maybe we give them extra hours. I don't know.
Go ahead and type in any questions you have for Jen, if there are any more. Otherwise, I'll follow up with her contact information.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank
Again,
you.
I really appreciate your time today, and I just want to say thank you for your patience and grace. Everyone has been very kind. We are continuing to work on things every day. So we appreciate your feedback, and we're working to make it more useful for everybody involved.
Thanks, Jen. All right, we're going to move on to our next presenter. We have Lilith from the Denver Early Childhood Council, but she manages the EC Connect sugar system, and she'll be providing some information about the GAE invoice reports and the reconciliation process. Hello, Lilith.
Hello, Monica.
I can hear you. I'm sending you the screen and we can see EC Connect.
Perfect. All right. So right now I'm in the EC Connect support site. And I just wanted to highlight the E&E OEC reconciliation guide that we have here. I know that right now it's a very manual process to do these submissions to the state. And so I just want to make sure that everyone has access to this OEC reconciliation guide for E&E. It'll kind of just walk you through the steps to filling out that template. And I know that, again, it is a manual process, and I want to let councils know that I will be available the first week of every month to do individualized Zoom meetings with staff or anyone who needs to get this done and has not either done it yet or has detailed questions about it as far as their budget is concerned. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone has this. I'm going to pop it in the chat as well. I can. And that's going to be, again, that link to the E&E OEC reconciliation guide. That was kind of my biggest plug, is to make sure that people know where this is, that they have access to it, that they can feel free to schedule a time with me that first week during the month to try and go over this and any detailed questions they have for their counsel and invoicing. And then I guess if individuals have more general questions about this document or that process as it relates to, again, following this guide, then I'd be happy to answer those. But if you have very detailed questions that are more related to your counsel and the way that you're doing things, then I will definitely want to set up a time to go over that individually.
So this is a little bit different. The E&E grant is being managed by Melissa, as you all know. Michelle, Charlie, and I still like to know what's going on and want to help out, but really Melissa's going to be the subject matter expert on all of this. And then as far as with billing, get in touch with Lilith because she knows everything about EC Connect.
And again, this guide was, because it is a manual process, trying to adapt it as smoothly as possible to get the information that you need from your funding stream for E&E. So again, it is not an automated process like TSQI, ESQI right now. So just making sure that you are following this guide step by step. There are a few definitely important bits not to miss while you're filling the invoice out. And so you want to make sure that you have this guide handy when you're filling it out. And I am always happy to go over this and just make sure that it makes sense, tweak it if it needs to be tweaked so that it does make sense to councils, but that, if you've got more, I guess, process related questions, and Melissa is a very good assistance to any of those questions you may have. And then I guess I will open it up if anyone does have more general questions. And if not, then feel free to submit a support ticket to go ahead and schedule a time if you do have, again, those more very detailed questions about this process for your council. And the first week of the month, I can definitely make time in my schedule and make sure that I help anyone that's still got lingering questions.
And Lil, correct me if I'm wrong, but the same can be said. Maybe there's a different timeline for just your targeted and expanded QI invoice, because it's a little bit different than it was last year. We sent out that workbook, we sent it out in the last couple weeks, and invoices are starting to come in from that workbook from the new funds. But if you do have questions about that, well, there are several help guides that are super useful. I was able to follow them, but
excellent.
You guys can also reach out to the support at econnectcolorado.org email.
Yes, yeah, that is the perfect place to reach out. And again, if you do have questions about ESQI, TSQI reconciliation, that is a different document than this, and I'm happy to go through it if there are lingering questions or anything that councils would like to talk about regarding those funding streams, as well as if they have questions about E&E, this is the document to go to.
Does anyone have any questions for Lilith?
And I'm not seeing anything, Monica, so if you see any on your end.
Thank you.
Oh, perfect, thank you.
All right, I guess we will move on to the emerging and expanding grant update. And Melissa, take it away. You are on mute.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. I do have some slides, so let's see if I can get those up and running.
I just sent you the screen.
Okay. Are you seeing anything yet?
Just the connecting to GoToWebinar, so I think we need to see your other screen.
Okay, I'll move this over.
There we go.
Yay. All right. me move all of this business out of the way here. Bear with me. Okay. So it's a little sluggish today. Here we go. Ooh. Well, okay, let's start here. So just to give folks an update, we have, as of 8/16, so this is a week or two old, we have 220 applications that have come through, with total grants actually approved at 3.2, with total funds remaining of the 5.5. Potentially new slots that will be added or being added currently at 2,360. And this current under review, since this was from a week or two ago, you know, as I go into Salesforce, I see it in real time. And we are already up quite a bit from that number. So it's closer to 5.2 that are currently under review. So that's 2,600, probably more now, slots that are currently under review. So this is moving along. And as folks know, we have 8.7 in funds that were allocated for the current year from the legislators. So that's really to do with your hard work. The success of this is, I know, really dependent on your work with the licensing specialist. And I just want to thank you all for the work that you've done, because it is making a difference and we are seeing the numbers. And along those lines, this is the breakdown as it stands currently around the number of received. So received in our system really is that, you know, the licensing specialist has 5 days to review for some of the basic requirements, and then he or she moves it into the in process or under review status. So that's what we have here, is just a smidgen that are in the receive status. That's usually around 100 to 150K of proposals that are in that receive status. And then eligible, so these are the ones that have been granted. The funds have been earmarked for those programs. And under review, same as in process, these are grants that are currently being considered. And the way that that breaks down in the big picture is here. Like I said, it's actually, you can see here, 5.2 million that are under review. This 3.3 number is as of today at 12/13. And then the other thing I wanted to point out too is that we do have about 2.3 that are in 60 days or older. So I know we've talked about these in the past. Those are proposals that we might be waiting on more information around. So it might be the licensing specialist is waiting on information, or you all might be waiting on information. But I'm really just encouraging folks to go back in and maybe look at in the system for your area where things are, if you do have maybe a large number for some of the larger communities of grants, to look and see maybe if some of those could be moved along. I know there are a couple that were in there where I saw some notes, and this would be within the licensing specialist realm, but that were, the person was deciding that they were going to withdraw. So we can just do that. We can withdraw it so that we have a more accurate figure about how many are actually in the queue currently. And this is just a friendly reminder that there is a data dashboard. I'm not going to click it right now because my computer is really slow, but this link is to the data dashboard where you also should be able to see your current grants that are in process and review and approved. And if you have problems getting into it, please let me know and I can fix that. And the same with the Google Drive. So on there, there are some updates. The guidance is on there. And folks, I think, have found that to be really helpful. I think that some of the links to the documents in Sugar that Lilith just covered, which, by the way, thank you again, Lilith. It's so helpful to have E&E specific guidance. I know I've received great feedback from folks from the ECCs around that. And there are other things like that in this Google Drive. So if you have problems accessing it, please let me know and I'll make sure you can get to that information. And then the big update. So hopefully you all did get my invitation to the webinar. So we'll be having a webinar on September 14th to talk about the expansion of the cap for E&E. So as you might recall from Senate Bill 236, that is going to go up. We are diligently working. The reason why we push the time frame out a little bit is that we're diligently working on addressing some of the concerns that we were hearing about ECCs having to manage funds that would be about large. And so we are working on some solutions internally that hopefully we can discuss at this webinar. The actual launch won't be until the 19th, so there's an additional buffer in there. 19th is a Sunday, if anybody's feeling so inclined to apply on a Sunday, but those updates will be in Salesforce. So really it's a very similar, it's the same application, but we did make some enhancements to it to allow for additional parameters for requests that are over $50,000. For the most part, if folks are requesting up to 50, their process is almost identical. There is a little bit more in terms of narrative that we're asking for. And then there are some additional parameters that we can talk about for over 50, and that will be in the guidance and talked about during the webinar, and it will be a part of the Salesforce release of the revised application on September 19th. This is the link. I'm going to go ahead and drop it. Oh, hold on. I'll get it and drop it in the chat. So if you didn't get my email, then you can just click that and register. That's what I've got. Any questions?
Hey, you guys, I did want to mention one of the enhancements that we are adding to the application is that you guys are going to get your own comment box.
Oh,
so
right.
it'll be a great to be able to add ECC notes in there. I know that was something that you had requested.
Anybody else? Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that now, sorry.
And I'll send a follow-up email with all the links that were shared, and we'll have the recording as well.
Okay. Sorry.
All right, it doesn't look like there's any questions, Melissa. So,
awesome. Yeah, thanks for offering to send those additional links, but I'm gonna stick it in the chat because I know we're ending here, and then you guys can get that. There you go.
While we're waiting for the link, does anyone else from my team have anything to share, or does anyone else have any questions? Does not look like it. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. You will get a follow-up email with all the information shared today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thanks again.
Thanks, everyone.